Welcome to the Deal Makers Podcast. Today's episode is packed with value as I sit down with my good friend Andrew Steffens. Andrew's been involved in real estate for years as an agent, but what makes his story so interesting is how he identified a growing opportunity and carved out a niche in short-term rentals. Instead of trying to do everything, he focused on building a successful vacation rental management company that helps property owners maximize their returns while creating great experiences for guests. So in this conversation, we're going to dive into some real-world strategies, some lessons that he learned, some mistakes to avoid, and what investors need to know if they're considering adding short-term rentals to their portfolio. So whether you're an agent, investor, entrepreneur looking to build a business around a specific niche, you're going to get a ton of value from this episode. Let's jump in with Andrew Steffens. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Deal Makers Podcast. My name is Carlos Gonzalez, and I'm excited today. We've got someone who not only is a real estate agent, but he runs a short-term rental management company, and he's been a longtime friend. Andrew, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Carlos. How you doing today?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule there to come on and chat with us a little bit. And just want the audience to get to know who you are, what you do, and let's add some value, bud. Let's add some value. So I just want to kind of jump right into it. And just how'd you get started in real estate, Andrew?
Going back, I think I got started around 2012. I had recently gotten out of the military. Had started a corporate job that really wasn't sitting well with me. Obviously I value freedom and building something on my own. So I learned that sort of early on and got real interested in real estate. And actually it was a friend of mine that I was in the Army Reserves with actually had introduced me to you as one of the first people that where I'd begun going down the path down real estate.
That was what, 2012, 2013?
Yeah, I think it was 2012, I believe.
Wow, man, time flies, buddy. Time flies. 2026, man. That's crazy.
14 years.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that's I do remember that, where you had some interest in real estate, and then you kind of started going down that road, learning, and you got your real estate license shortly after, right?
Right. So I had some capital, so I started in purchasing long-term rentals. So that kind of laid a foundation for several things. So I was self-managing. I had taught myself how to be a landlord, and then there was at the time some appetite with investors. I think some of which you had introduced me to, that needed property management for their long-term rentals. So a couple of years before short-term rentals really kind of proliferated. So I got my license so I could legally manage other people's rentals. So that was my first foray into real estate and into property management specifically. So I think at one point I was managing around 60 long-term rentals, which is definitely a different beast than short-term rentals, but we'll get into that in a second. And then from there, I started doing some flips also with you and our friend Daniel Pelosio. So went from long-term management, kind of forayed into flips, which I was using my license to help in dispositions of the assets, as well as investing my own capital all throughout the way. And then in 2016, kind of stayed in my first short-term rental as a guest and kind of got the wheels spinning. So the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, so that was your intro into short-term rentals. And then talk to me about your first one. What was your first deal that you ended up managing for short-term rental?
Well, working with Daniel again, I had the bright idea, not enough capital to really get into it, but the bright idea of maybe I can find somebody else's property the term now is arbitrage. I don't think that term existed back in 2016. So we did find a property on the beach where the owner was in foreclosure. He rented it to us. We decorated and furnished it and then managed it. So probably pretty poorly looking back on it, but it was profitable. So it was a great.
That was a cool property though. I remember I stayed there as well. It was right on the beach. You couldn't beat it.
Yep. So it was a great learning experience with that first one, and was profitable. So not a lot of people can say that, and that kind of forayed into the next steps.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And so as you've gone on to this journey now and you've started a full service management company, what would you say that you've seen, not only mistakes that you've made, but that you see other investors make when they try to transition and jump into this space?
Well, I'd say that the as you know, flippers and investors, a penny saved is a penny earned. So that mentality does not really serve well in the short-term rental business, because this isn't your traditional real estate investment. If you can save $100 on painting on a paint job, that's $100 that essentially you can put in your pocket. Whether it's a long-term rental that needs a paint job or even a flip, at the end of the day, a penny saved, a penny earned is $100 saved is $100 earned. That mentality does not really serve the short-term rental world. Of course, being cost conscious is always a positive, but there's definitely lines of diminishing returns. And I can give a couple examples quickly. Obviously, these short-term rentals need to be furnished. So anything that's like sat on, used, laid on, it does help to put extra money into those items, because would you rather spend $200 for a Walmart futon that you have to replace 2 or 3 times a year, or spend $1,000 on a commercial grade futon that will last you 5 years? So I do find that with your traditional investor mindset, things like that can become a disservice in that instance.
Can kind of hinder you, right? With trying to just really trying to be cheap.
Right.
And not doing the right thing now. So in your opinion, by doing that and not spending the extra capital, does that hinder the cash flow?
It will, and it's also the time burden. I mean, taking myself as the manager and just speaking strictly as like I do on short-term rentals myself. Do you want to hear from your manager, or even if you're self-managing, do you want to hear every 3 months that your futon is broken and needs replacement? You have to stop what you're doing. And if you have a guest in there too, Murphy's Law exists, it's always Friday night at 10 p.m. when the futon breaks and your guest is screaming bloody murder and wants a refund. So not only, in that scenario I gave, exactly. So you're buying three futons a year at a cost of say 600, and then versus a more expensive one that could last maybe 5 years. Obviously that's a negative ROI right there. And then think about, there's a potentiality for refunds from the guests, bad reviews that are immeasurable. We don't know, who's reading that review and is affecting your bookings. So just little things like that. And, ultimately this is a real estate investment, and it is also a hospitality business. So, everybody, I imagine, listening to this has stayed in a hotel before. If some people are more reasonable than others when unfortunate events happen, but if you're staying at a hotel and things go wrong and they're constantly not giving you any type of service or any type of, you're not going to want to come back, and you're probably going to leave a poor review. So keeping the guests happy and keeping yourself sane too. There's, if you have a 4-bedroom house, there's hundreds of pieces of furniture and belongings that all need to be accounted for. So if you're constantly having to replace different things because you're buying, and it goes all the way down to the silverware. If you're buying cheap stuff, it wears out quicker, and you're constantly spending extra time and energy, which leads to a negative ROI. So it does help to spend in some cases versus not.
Yeah, no, that's good for the audience to hear. You want materials that have longevity, right? And that's one thing that I know we've always talked about is, hey, durability when it comes to flooring, durability when it comes to countertops, and then again, durability when it comes to the furniture, because you want that customer experience, right? To be the best possible, so they can return and they can give you positive feedback, and you can continue to grow and have a 5-star rating. So if I had $100,000 today and I wanted to focus in the vacation rental space, what would you recommend that I would do with $100,000 to invest?
There's several different ways to do that. It really depends on the person. As you have mentioned, I'm a broker associate with InvestCore, James's brokerage. On top of property management, I'm also acquisition agent for many investors, and I'd say about 80% of my clients are out of state, and they are busy professionals. I'm not sure if you or your audience are aware of the tax advantages, but the new tax advantages, which I think we can get into a little bit deeper shortly, that is attracting people that have high incomes and are looking for the tax advantages, but they have high incomes because they're successful in whatever the field that they are. So I have a lot of doctors, for example, that are clients. they're busy being doctors. One in Ohio, one in Michigan, and a couple others scattered about. They're not coming here. They don't want to do a rehab. A lot of them don't even want to do a furnishing. So they don't have the time. Maybe they're going to come down here once to check out the property, spend a couple days here, get some of their participation hours that the IRS needs in order to get that tax benefit. And then they're going to go back to their life. And they have an asset here in Florida that they can use, a popular area, the Tampa Bay area. It's another reason that they can buy a property anywhere and get that benefit, but they're not looking to change their life, and they're not necessarily hardcore investors that are looking to leave their job and start rehabbing properties. But so a lot of those, they want the easy button. The easiest button of them all is buying an existing short-term rental. Those can be found off market. I do have off market inventory of those, as well as on the MLS. And that's just a traditional sale. The benefits of that, if somebody contacted me today and we contracted one and we did a standard 30-day close, we could be closed on August 15th. And in theory, you could have somebody checking in later that afternoon that you closed. You could be making money from day one. Now, that's there is also, it is the easy button, but you are paying full retail. So that's doesn't.
Yeah, but if it's cash flowing, right, and the numbers work, it makes sense, because you're not having to do a thing. You're just taking over.
We've had people, literally close at noon, and at 4 p.m. their first guest is checking in. It takes a lot of coordination to make that happen, but they're getting a paycheck, within 30 days of closing their first paycheck. So definitely the easy button, and those short-term rentals tend to have financials to them too, so a little bit easier than just an estimate. I'm fairly good at estimating those, but having some extra proof of what the property can do definitely helps the process as well.
No, that's great. And, just kind of talking about all of this and just seeing how knowledgeable you are in this industry. I mean, did that happen overnight? Did you learn all of this from one day to the next and then decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Or kind of what was that trajectory for you? Because it sounds like you went from, now you're helping buyers look for the asset, and then you're managing it for them as well. But then you offer a lot of other services to make it to where it truly is passive. And I think that's, something that is very attractive to, like you said, to someone that doesn't really want to or has the time to do all of that, right? But for you, how did that all come together? How did you say, well, now let me offer this and let me offer that?
All right, so it's definitely been an evolution, and every time I think I've seen it all, I think I've hosted over 30,000 stays in 10 years now. Just when you think you've seen it all, you see something else, or you see another angle. The industry is definitely ever evolving, but going back to that first property, that was an arbitrage. That all good things come to an end. The bank did eventually take that property back from the owner. So then I had applied the skills that I had learned with property management in the long term. There's some applicable skills that do cross over, as well as the flipping experience that I had. So we just ended up doing some burrs. So we were buying distressed assets, fixing them up, and instead of selling them, we were refinancing them, which is a very viable strategy for those out there that have the experience, or at least the will to go through that process. That is a way to make sure that you have some equity. You'll have a lower payment, which will equal greater cash flow. So that's how I own my properties, all except for one. I did just close on a turnkey place myself because the numbers were impressive. But all the other ones that I have and have ever had were using the BRRRR method, which is still very much a viable option. From there, we had hit COVID. So I was already managing my own assets, and then it kind of went to friends and family as we went into COVID. That obviously was kind of a wild ride. It was a shock to the system. Everything went down. All of our calendars in March of 2020, our busiest month, were empty. And then, Florida, we were fortunate that Florida wanted to stay open. So everybody came rushing back, and it was 2 years of a gold rush. There was a point in time where you could take your $100,000, put it down on a $500,000 house, and cash flow $4,000+ a month because there was such a short supply and so many people that were coming into Florida. But as I mentioned before, all good things come to an end. News spread, more and more people entered, and then as other states coming out of COVID, the Florida boom was over. There was definitely a market correction right around 23, 24. Again, as people had more options to travel to and things to do out in the world as it was opening back up. And a lot of people had rushed in. So simple supply and demand. was out of balance. So there was a rude awakening for a lot of owners at that time, that their dream of buying one house and being retired didn't come to fruition, and then it led to the competitive landscape sort of that we have today.
Yeah. Now, do you feel that are you still bullish about the Florida market? What do you feel is going to happen?
Well, there's two separate answers to that question. I mean, on the real estate market, the areas that short-term rentals are good in, the whole Tampa Bay market is not good. Certain cities like City of St. Pete, City of Clearwater have 30-day minimums, so you can't purchase there. It's not really a bad thing. If every city was wide open with one-day rentals, we would have an even more surplus of inventory. So we have a healthy mix in this area of regulation. The areas that are good for short-term rental are close to the beach or close to downtown Tampa or close to attractions. Even there's that little niche market near the USF Busch Gardens area that can do well. But generally speaking, it's the urban core, midtown area of Tampa near the airport, the stadiums, and also by the beaches. That is prime real estate. Those values through the last couple of years have been stable, even though interest rates tripled. Values have, for the most part, stayed pretty stable in those areas, while other values have fallen. So I do think that when rates do inevitably go down, I do think those areas will remain popular. They're 100% developed. So you don't have to worry about, Lennar building 1,000 more houses 5 minutes from the beach. It's just not possible. So I do think the values will go up in those specific areas. So I do think that in a long-term appreciation play is great in these areas. It can't beat being 5 or 10 minutes from the beach or 5-10 minutes from downtown Tampa. The rental market,
right? Something that's going to draw people there.
Exactly, and that's one thing you want. That's one great thing about Tampa. We have people coming for all different reasons: Bucks games, vacation, of course, golfing in the cooler months, boat trips. There's more than just, I call it a one-trick pony. So, Orlando is an example of that. And nobody goes to Orlando except for Disney. So if something happened to Disney, the workers go on strike, or something happens to the park, you're out of business overnight. So at least with Tampa, there's a wide cross section of people coming here. So that's helps keep it healthy and lowers your risk. If the beach closes, you're going to feel it in your pocketbook, but it's, you're still going to be able to stay afloat and weather that storm. The second answer to your question, the general rental market, I am bullish on it, but it takes the right person. I've kind of touched on it it can't be like a cheap person, because they're just not going to be successful. So you have to have reasonable expectations. You can still get 10, 15, even 20% cash on cash returns just buying retail. So having reasonable expectations, as well as knowing that the property, you're going to have to keep up with whatever the trend is. Right now, the trend on larger houses is pickleball courts. So if you're an owner of a 5-bedroom house near the beach, your competition has pickleball courts, ice plunges, putt golf. So all these things became popular when the market nobody had these things during COVID. Nobody needed them. So why would you spend the money if you don't need them? So as it got more competitive, people are outdoing each other, and then some of that outdoing becomes standard. So if you're somebody that is willing to spend and keep up with the trends, you can have wild success. I see $700,000 houses bringing in $200,000 a year in gross rent, if you're willing to do what's necessary to get there and stay on top of it. Trends change.
That's awesome, man. No, that's a lot of good information. So, I mean, as you've, learned all of these different things to do, things not to do, I mean, it just seems like obviously you've gone through it. You've done a lot of it. You've learned a lot. And like you said, it's evolved for you. But let's say, I'm a brand new agent, and I'm working with investors, and I want to, kind of venture off and say, I want to be like Andrew. I want to help buyers find, these short-term rentals. Where do I start? What would you say? What would be your advice as like the first thing to do? What should I learn? Where should I go? Like, in your opinion, what's the good first step to kind of go into that direction, or take my career into that direction?
I learned this lesson kind of, I guess, a little bit later in life, probably just a couple of years ago. But I think you have to be, just like anything else, a master in your craft. You have to immerse yourself in it. I mean, I do different things in this industry, such as management, sales, and I still dabble in my own personal investments. But for the most part, 90% of what I do on a day in and day out basis is related to the industry that I'm in. I think people are maybe suspicious of the person that's good at everything, but really a master of none, a jack of all trades, but a master of none. So I think if you're a new agent, you should find your niche. I'm actually mentoring a couple of younger agents as well, and I'm exposing them to a whole bunch of different things. So they're kind of helping me out with some showings and things of that nature, and they're being compensated for such. But I do get long-term rental buyers every once in a while, so I want them to take that lead. Maybe they become an expert in long-term rentals. But I think you find your lane and you don't deviate it from it much. I live in a pretty big neighborhood, and I've gotten offers to be a listing agent in my neighborhood. I mean, it'd be super easy. So the houses have good value, so it could be an easy check. But I'm not the best person for that job. There's people in my neighborhood that are really good at, they do the grand open houses and the right marketing around the neighborhood. They're the best person for that job. Just like I think that they wouldn't be the best person if somebody in my neighborhood wanted to buy a short-term rental, because they had never done it before. And that is actually the reason that I got involved in the sales, is because I had potential management clients approaching me. They just found an agent on Zillow, and the Zillow agent said, yeah, sure, I know short-term rentals, I can find you one. And they ended up either investing in an area that just wasn't the best return that they could have gotten for their budget, or I've even seen people buying in areas that have 30-day minimums, basically effective bans on short-term rentals, and they're in a real big problem then at that point. So just like I advise buyers to work with the correct person, I have buyers that came to me, they bought a short-term rental, and now they want to buy a long-term rental this year to kind of balance out their portfolio. I gave them to the long-term rental guy that I know. So I think picking a lane and becoming an expert in it, and branding yourself as such, and doing good by your clients, is how you build a successful real estate business.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. So it's really good advice to anybody looking to kind of get into this lane. And Andrew, I know before we wrap up here, one of the things that you mentioned earlier, which I think is a tremendous value, if you could just explain it a little bit, because this is something agents can use as well to inform their clients. But there's some tax advantages, and we're heading into those months where folks start to get desperate and they're like, man, I got to do something. I got to buy something. So we could potentially see a more of a demand in the next few months. But let's explain to the audience a little bit about the tax advantages and how they would be able to share that with any potential clients.
Sure. So I'll try to boil it down briefly. I was just on a webinar with my CPA, and it was an hour and a half long, talking about this one topic. So it is very, very in depth, but sort of a high level overview is with the One Big Beautiful Bill that came into law last year. One of the provisions in there allowed for accelerated depreciation. So typically when you buy an investment property, I believe they're depreciated over 27 and a half years. So if you had roughly a $275,000 property, you could take a $10K tax deduction off of your taxable income every year for 27 and a half years, up until the point you no longer own it. So that was kind of standard. Now with short-term rentals, there is a path, and there is rules to it that I won't go too far into, as far as like material participation hours and just different things that you have to do in order to qualify. But long story short, if you buy a short-term rental and you meet all the IRS requirements, which I have a whole team built around this. I have the CPA, I have financial advisors, I have everybody I have a limited service management that is IRS compliant to get you there. But you can depreciate all of it in one shot. So if you have 275K of depreciable value in a property, you can, instead of taking little bites of it, 10K a year, you could depreciate the whole thing in year one. So if you're a doctor and you're making, say, $600,000 a year, you can almost write off half your income in that scenario, which will knock you down in the bracket. So you'll be paying a lesser percentage. And if you're a W-2 employee, then you'll get a massive refund next year when you successfully file that. Or if you're like me, like self-employed, then you'll lower what you're going to have to inevitably pay. So that's why I just bought one. I'll probably buy two this year. I'm keeping an eye on my income, and I'm purchasing property. It's forcing me to do what I should be doing anyways, which is purchasing quality property and operating. And I know
you're not just talking about it or teaching it, you're actually doing it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So I could, I should be probably paying the IRS something very small next year. So, but I'll have two properties that are cash flowing. and appreciate
I
it.
know myself, and I'm sure a lot of people out there as well want to benefit from that. So definitely, if you want to just go ahead and plug some of your information, you've got a website. Where can people find you? And one of the things I've been talking to you about for a while, and I'm going to get you to do it. You got to do an ebook. You got to do some training, and we'll host it on Dealmakers community. But man, I think you've got something really, really cool that adds a lot of value that you can, package up and help others to kind of go down this path as well.
Yeah. So long story short, I'm happy. I know this is a sort of a faceted audience. So anybody that's looking to get into real estate, I'm happy to mentor. I could use help. Or as Carlos said, we're going into, the years, we're closer to the end of the year than we are the beginning of the year. So people are realizing that with taxes. So it does get super hot and heavy the last couple months of the year, people trying to buy something so they can take advantage of that. It does have to be purchased and in service by the end of the year. So I'm happy to mentor anybody that is truly passionate about it. That it can't just be like you're kind of interested. I mean, somebody's truly interested. I'm definitely happy to work with some agents and get them started on that path. As far as buyers, definitely if you are interested in the tax savings, now is the time to get going. Still have time, but you don't want to get to that last minute crunch. And then any investors too, definitely Carlos and I have worked with clients in the past finding those BRRRR properties. That is Carlos's specialty, but I on the back end can put my stamp of approval that I think it can be a quality short-term rental and what it would need to get there. So it could be adding a pool or it could be adding different things. So those three lanes I'm open to. You can contact me. So my website, it's more geared towards it's a booking website. It does have some information about the general company. It's just more sort of guest and management client facing. That's bookvrof.com. So BOOK Victor Romeo Oscar Fox.com. So you can always find me there. And my email is simple. It's just Andrew at that same website, bookvrof.com. So shoot me an email. And then, of course, you can reach me by phone, text, or call. It's 813-563-0877.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information and everything that you've talked to us about. Keep in mind any of our audience as well, because we were just talking about this the other day, but because of that, you've got a lot of buyers. So if anybody has or comes across the listing that is a short-term rental or has potential to be a short-term rental as well, reach out. We can talk about it and underwrite, and potentially you can sell it for your client before it even goes on the market. So a lot of opportunities. Andrew, man, you are a plethora of knowledge, buddy. I think you are really doing it right. You're crushing it. You've been crushing it over the last few years, and I know that you're just going to continue to grow your business and continue to do good. And I love that you're willing to help out. You're already mentoring some people. So if you guys want any additional information, reach out to Andrew. He is the expert in the vacation rental space. So Andrew, the last thing that I want you to leave the audience with, because dude, I know you're probably gone 10 times out of the year to Europe and traveling. So what has real estate done for you as far as your personal life, what Andrew likes to do? Has it given you that freedom?
It has, and as I mentioned in the beginning, I was a recruiter in the Army, which is kind of a corporate job inside the Army. So it was I actually had a really good leadership in that, and I actually got spoiled by it. So when I got re-exposed to the real corporate world, and how inflexible and how imprisoned I had felt, it only lasted about 3 or 4 months. That was really what I was seeking was being able to do what I want, and I'm only accountable to myself. So if you're, but it's not for everybody. So the discipline that I have, getting up every morning, even though I don't have to, and working late, even though nobody's making me do it. So all that's important. But if you are a person that can hold yourself accountable and put the time in and the effort, the rewards are great. As Carlos mentioned, I travel not as much as I have been, because I've been extremely busy, but about 3 or 4 times a year I take some pretty great vacations.
I'm sure there's a cool trip on the horizon.
Yeah, we're going to Norway next month. But
there you go. So.
All you need is build the right team and an internet connection. I was just in Monaco for the summer around the Grand Prix time, so every morning I pop open my computer and work for a couple hours, and occasionally have to jump on my phone, but I had my team in place here, and nothing went awry. So that's to me, that's what's important.
You're living the dream, buddy. And what I love more than anything is that, this is just attainable to any of us. So, the success stories love to see that, hey, you jumped into real estate. It didn't happen overnight, but however, you stuck with it. You kept enduring. You've learned. You've grown. You've evolved, like you said, and now you've got a highly successful business, and you're able to benefit from all that hard work that you've done. So hopefully this is an encouragement to our audience as well. Hey, sometimes getting into real estate, initially, it's not going to be the easiest. You're going to have challenges. You're going to face a lot of stuff that you might not know, but stick with it. It is so worth it. I love what I do. Like Andrew said, we wake up early, we work late because, for me, at least, Andrew, it's not work. I truly enjoy it. I want to be doing this. I want to continue to add value. So for anyone out there who is interested, visit our website as well at enrolldma.com. This is a community that we've established that is going to give you not only instructional videos, there's a document vault, but you're going to have access to myself, to my partner, James, who is also a highly successful real estate broker who, works a lot with agents and teaches them how to work with investors. So you want more information, reach out to us. We're here to help. Andrew, thank you so much, bud. I appreciate it. I know the audience appreciates it, and wish you the best in the remaining part of this year.
All right, you guys as well. Let me know if I can help.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye.